Okay. Sorry about the delay. Sometimes there's a problem here with the internet connection. That's just how it is. So I had to try again. But here we are, and we are online. So we will be talking about slave mentality. And, are we all do we all have some kind of degree of slave mentality? And I'll explain what I mean by that. A little bit of a piece of practical information. First of all, you have to be a subscriber to join the chat. That's normally how I do it. And we have a wonderful community here. So if you are here now, consider subscribing. If you are listening on what do you call it, replay, or after the live stream, I would ask you to consider to subscribe, because that means that next time I'm doing a live stream, which I do quite often, then you will be able to join the chat. So, first of all, let's say hello to some of the wonderful people here. Luke and Mom, Gordon here, and Laura, Jen. That's awesome to see you. And the squirrel, Ratatosk. So, okay. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And we have some moderators here as well. We don't really usually have a problem with trolls and haters and stuff like that. And that's mostly because I have in the settings, as I said, it's so that you have to be a subscriber to join the chat. So, are we all victims to slave mentality? Do we all have some degree of slave mentality? And I think we all want to think of ourselves as being free. We all want to think of ourselves as being independent, and so on and so on. And we should be, that's what I think we should aspire to. But we grow up, we are born, and then we grow up in a society with rules and regulations. There will be some dogma there. There will be some quite a high degree of conditioning into whatever culture you are born into. And that culture will be, there will be, well, just like something like food, you become accustomed to your local food or the food of your culture. There will be some rules and regulations and dogma, as I said, specific to your culture, and some will be, more global. And there will be, in many cultures, there will be a religion. It's a cultural thing, and let's say you are born in some Middle Eastern Muslim country, then you will probably be a Muslim. And if you're born in I don't know, Texas, you will probably be a Christian, right? So we're not completely independent, at least not to start with. And then we grow up, we go to school, which is a good thing. We need to learn to read and write and so on, and then we are supposed to start working, and we need to work because we need to put food on the table. But we're also culturally expected to do things that most other people do, you know. It used to be like you should save up money and take out a loan to buy your own house or apartment, which, well, I have a house, so I'm not going to say that that's stupid. I like to have a house, it's my house. I have a big garden, I like my big garden, and so on. But there are many other things, like you're supposed to. Now I'm talking from my culture here. You're supposed to have a car, and I have a car. I need a car, and I'm always going to have a car. And but then again, you're supposed to have maybe a specific type of car. It used to be an SUV here in Norway, which is practical because we have winters. Now you're supposed to have an electric car, which, by the way, I will say this to you. I almost didn't make it yesterday. I almost didn't make it because it was snowing and it was slippery. And as I was driving to the gym, a car started going like this in the opposite, coming against me like this. And it almost hit me, like not many centimeters there. But so that was a close call, as they say. But anyway, not here to criticize electric cars or anything like that, but it could have happened with any car. But the thing is, and what I'm trying to illustrate here, is that we go through life, and I'm saying this as a 52-year-old, we go through life maybe less independently thinking than we like to think, than we like to depend, than we like to believe, And if I'm looking back, I've been quite an independent character because I've been a novelist all my adult life, and that's an independent thing to do, right? But before that, I took an education in economics, which my father did as well, So maybe there was something there, me just doing what was expected of me, maybe. And then, I find myself now kind of waking up, which I think for most people is something that you do when you reach a certain age. Some people never wake up. Waking up to the fact that, nobody's going to remember you if you just went along with whatever dogma you you subscribe to, or whatever expectations there are out there in society. Nobody's going to remember you, and it doesn't. It's probably not going to help you, and it's that slave mentality. I will point out one thing in particular that I believe is the biggest one thing that tells us that we are still suffering, most of us, or all of us, to some degree of slave mentality. Work. Yes, we have to work, but working 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You get paid for doing that. But that system is very, very close to a slave system, especially if you have a kind of work that you just have to do the work. You have to do the hours there, and you don't enjoy your work. It's, I mean, isn't that like being a slave a little bit? It's different if you love your work, but even if you love your work, do you love it every day, every hour? And if the answer is no, not always, then also in those cases there is um, we have a troll here. Can you get let's hold on. I'll just finish my sentence. If even if you love your work, you still do the hours when you don't love your work, when you would rather go for a walk in the woods, then there is a degree of slave mentality there. Now, thank you, Jen. Bushcraft Quebec, please act like an adult here, or else you will be kicked out. And if you wonder, oh, he takes AdSense money, he should do YouTube for free. You can fuck right off. That's one thing. The other thing is that even if I did all the settings so that there would be no money going to me, YouTube would still put ads on the videos. It's just that then they don't pay my cut of it to me, So, okay, enough about that. As I said, when you reach a certain age, you hear older people, they will say, enjoy life, On their deathbed, they will say, I wish I had spent more time with my kids. I wish I had enjoyed life more, and I wish I hadn't been working all the time. But then there's a lot that could be said about that. Of course, you will regret those things, I guess, but also you do at the moment what you think is best for you. Or, well, not really, but it's not so easy, when you have to put food on the table and you know that you will be fired if you don't show up at work. But we can at least, and this is coming from me, I'm older than many of you people here. So I can tell you that there should be at least a goal to have more freedom, to have more time off, you know? And what I have found is that if I define myself as part-time retired, actually my production it goes up. The production increases. I will write more effectively. It's let me just it's like people. I'm sorry that I have to say this, but there are people coming here very often when I talk about these issues saying that I'm a hypocrite because I make money off of YouTube. Now, if you want to make money off of YouTube and you're not doing promotions, you're not going to make a lot of money. I don't know. It depends on the views, but it's, I don't know, $20, $20 on a live stream like this. So it's not a lot, So just people need to know their place, okay? So it's like if I did promotions, maybe I will in the future, That's up to me. It's not for other people to decide, you know? So please, it's not like you have a channel of some medium sized like this one and you make a fortune. That's not how it works. I wish it was, but it's not. So, but anyway, I think we need to be aware of this 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 slave mentality. It wasn't always like this. Now, I guess you have all heard that peasants, even in the medieval age, they would work much less than we are now. We know for a fact that hunter-gatherers, their active working time is much less. It's much, much less than like 8 hours per day. It's maybe 3 or 4, and they will be active and they will be hunting, they will be in nature, which is where we are supposed to be. And I think it's a better life. I've said sometimes, I say that, we should go back to being hunter-gatherers, but keep the scientific advances and the medical service that we have in this modern world. So if we get sick, we can get help, right? But apart from that, we should just disconnect. So that would be the ideal life, wouldn't it? So yeah. Now, one other aspect of this that I would like to tie into this before we get to the general conversation is that if we look at Hellenistic philosophy, it made 3 main directions, right? You have hedonism, you have stoicism, and you have skepticism. Now, hedonism is, when I say that, people will envision a bunch of naked Greeks doing unspeakable things to each other and drinking wine. That's not really what hedonism is, actually. It's more about the value of joy in your life in itself. Now, Stoicism was maybe a response to that, and Stoicism is about virtue. It's interesting if you look into what that word virtue, where it comes from, which I think people should do. It's a good word. I like that word. And Stoicism is more about it's not about your life. It shouldn't be about what happens to you, but how you deal with it. And then, of course, you have skepticism, which is kind of the idea. I would say that there is no right or wrong. There is no. We should question everything and all of that. But anyway, I think a balance is good. I personally think that Stoicism is extremely useful, but I've gotten more and more into hedonism. And again, not in the sense that, a bunch of naked Greeks drinking wine, but the idea that joy matters. You should enjoy life. You should do things that you like doing. It shouldn't all be a struggle. So when you do see and when you do find joy, you should enjoy that. You should. So I think it's important. And, this, was it Henry Ford? Was it Henry Ford who introduced the 8-hour work day? Back then, they would work Saturdays as well, wouldn't they? But it's a fairly modern thing, and it's not natural, and we should not keep doing that. Now, I think it is unhealthy to work 8 hours per day. It's much too much. I think if you look at it, we should aspire to create a culture and a society where we work much less. Not saying we should be inactive, but working 8 hours per day is not good. We should work maybe 4. or less, or maybe not even every day. And then we should spend more time on our hobbies, out in nature, maybe going to the gym, going for a walk, running, swimming, whatever. And yeah, okay. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But instead, we think that because of our culture, we think that we need to go to work 8 hours every day to do something, get a paycheck. That's life. And then our fine politicians, I'm saying fine politicians, it's ironic. They are now expecting us to work until we die. 70 years, that's what they are saying here in Norway now. We should increase the age of retirement to 70 years. These fat asses, no, did I say that? I'm sorry. I was thinking about one particular politician here in Norway. They're not doing manual work, and to be honest, I don't think they're working that hard either. But anyway, it's easy to say that when you don't have a demanding kind of work. So these two people who do manual work, are they supposed to work until they're 70 now? It's insane, it's inhuman. No, we shouldn't work that much. We are working far too much. Okay. Let's see. I'll just scroll up a little bit here, and I'll try to respond to the comments. If you really, really want me to respond to your comment and read your comment, you can give me a super chat. I wouldn't have said that normally, but I do mention it sometimes. But we had this troll here who thought that he could decide about my personal economy. That's why I'm saying it. So let's see here. Oh yeah, look, mom, hedonism, not hedonism. Talking about the Greek direction of philosophy, hedonism. So the idea with AI and AI doing the work for us, and it will give us much more spare time. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But the question is, who's going to finance your life? I think what's going to happen is that people will be fired. Well, we are seeing it already. Well, it's decimating the publishing business already. Not the publishing business, but artists in general are suffering because you have idiots out there with no morals using AI to produce books. I won't say write books because they're not writing the books. Produce books, produce illustrations, and so on. They need to put into effect laws that prevents AI to do that. AI should not be used for that. Let's see. Thank you, Tech Test. Thank you so much for your donation. Let's see here. We have someone from Thailand here. Beer Lover 666. Let's see. What if it was a Norse mythological troll in the chat? Well, that would be interesting. Let's see. That's what this depopulation. Yeah. Well, we are seeing depopulation. That's not a conspiracy theory. We can just look at the numbers. Um, absolutely. Gladys Kravitz Jr., I'm sorry to hear that. You are writing, I worked my whole life and was a graphic designer, but of course that has been taken over by AI as well. Yes. I can tell you that when it comes to AI, I have gone many rounds with my publishers and agents to make sure that in the contracts for my books, it says that AI cannot be used, not in the cover illustration, not in the translation. This is very important. um, let's see. Christian saying the devil makes work for idle hands, says Peter backwards. Well, it's interesting when you look at well, it's basically the Abrahamic religions and especially the European and also North American version of Christianity. It's very adapted to getting people to stay within the grid. It's very dogmatic, when you look at it. It's very it, well, it's not it's very like, you should work. That's the meaning of life. Because if you don't work, if you just lie in your hammock and you drink wine or whatever, that's the devil will get you. I don't like that. I don't like that idea, that image there. It's obviously it's a fantasy. Well, there are people who believe in the devil, in a literal sense, but the idea is, of course, that if you're idle, you will do things that are not good for you, or not good for other people. But actually, I'm not talking about being idle. Well, being idle and doing nothing, you know what? It will be extremely healthy and good for you if you're burnt out. Many people are burnt out these days. If you're just tired, if you don't know your place in the world, if you're just confused, just being idle, doing nothing can heal you. But then I think we will be much happier if we are, well, not too idle, but if we have hobbies, if we have, maybe you want to grow some vegetables, maybe you want to explore your local woods, whatever, you know. Um, is that being idle? I don't think so. Um, uh, let's see. Laura says rest is needed sometimes. Yes, absolutely. Um, Tech Test says agreed. I did it and it works. Yes. Jen says there's a happy middle for everyone. Absolutely. Linguo 567 says as long as you don't become fat. No, but actually, I think that a part of, well, we talked about hedonism. Part of hedonism should be eating healthy food. When you think about it, healthy food is, there's joy in that, Well, some people just prefer to eat sugar, but healthy food makes you feel better, you know. Now, is Gordon is asking, is fried food popular in Norway? Not like in other places, like in Scotland. No, we do have fried foods here. We have McDonald's, of course, but it's people will say it's poison, it's not food. That's not true actually in Norway. They follow the same guidelines as rules and regulations as any other company serving food here. So it so if you go to McDonald's, by the way, here, and you have a Big Mac, it's not going to be the same as in the USA, because in the USA, because of freedom or whatever, uh, a lot more toxic stuff is allowed in the food. So, but you won't get that here. Not saying you should eat, not saying you should eat a Big Mac every day, but you're not supposed to. Yeah. Now, some people are, yes, old Nick, yes, some people are happy working a lot. And if that's you, and maybe that's what you should do. Yeah, Yo Tube Jack says, find a job you enjoy and it won't feel like work. Yeah, I know. I know. So let's see. Gladys Kravitz Jr. says, I retired a year ago and it took me months to decompress. Yes, that's what people are saying. It it's and I've been thinking about that a lot because, well, people I know who are older, but not that much older than me, they retire. If you have been employed by the state in Norway, I think you can retire at 62. Of course, if you haven't been employed by the state, you will have to work until 67, and that will probably be moved up to 70. So they don't treat people who worked for the state the same way as they treat other people, for some reason, some very strange reason. Yeah, it all connects, doesn't it? So, 62 in the US. Okay. Now, it's good that we are expected to live longer now. Well, actually, this has changed. The younger generation now, in some, at least this was about the USA, but it said that they are expected to live shorter than their parents because of obesity and so on. But we are, if at least if we look at European countries, Scandinavian countries, some like Japan and so on, we are expected to live for a long, long time now. And I think it is important that we find meaning in a life without work, because we're going to get there. Hopefully, we live to that age. So whether you retire sooner or later when you have to, you're going to have years, hopefully with good health, when you're going to be not working. And So this idea that, well, work gives you meaning, well, you have to find new meaning then, right? And I think that we should, yes, Hotep says retirement is 67. You get like 15 years to live at that point. It's by design. Yes. And it's sickening. It's disgusting. We shouldn't, it shouldn't be like that. Now, I'm 52, as I said, and this should be a good age for retiring. It should. I mean, at this age, I'm telling you, people are getting tired. They are getting tired, and they don't like to work anymore. And I've been talking to so many people who are saying that. They just want to stop working. My age, 50s, you don't want to work anymore. Well, some do, but so many people, they don't want to work anymore. Even the people who have extremely interesting jobs. So that should tell us something. It's a trap, and the the way the trap catches you is that you take up a lot of debt. Why is there a B there? Shouldn't be a B. Um, and you have to pay off that loan. And that's what you spend most of your active working life doing, and then you're old. And I don't think that's a good deal. Now, I've been fortunate. I'm not in that position, but you know, if you talk with people, they would like to, in their 50s, they would like to stop. Normally, they would like to stop working, but they can't because they still have debt, or they haven't been able, they have paid off their debt like a few years ago, and now they haven't had time to save up money because of the debt. It's a trap. So, let's see. Um, uh, yeah, and they are saying about Gen Z, that, oh, Gen Z, especially people my age, are complaining. Well, actually, more my parents' generation, they are complaining about Gen Z a lot. Oh, they don't want to work. They're so lazy. You know what, Gen Z? I think the Gen Z people are very smart. I think they're seeing what's going on here, and they don't want they're not buying it. They're not buying it. They're not falling for it. You know. And also with the current economy, you get to work until you die, and you won't ever be able to save up money to own your own flat or your own house. For most people, that is the reality. Why the hell would you want to work that much when that's the deal that you're offered? I mean, you're basically just a slave, and that needs to stop. We need to get out of that system. Um, so I'm not going to complain about the Gen Z. I'm not going to complain about the Gen Z. I think they are very smart, and I sympathize. Um, and it's like people will say, "Oh, but I worked so hard all my life. Now it's their turn." I'm not like that. We shouldn't be like that. Um, no. Uh, if anything, if anyone should be criticized now, it is. I will say this, and I know Gen X, we hate the boomers. That's what people are saying. Why are you hating your parents so much? It's a typical thing about Gen X. We hate our parents' generation. So, okay. But still, why the hell are the boomers loaning money to buy a bigger flat? What have you heard about that? It's a thing now. Well, it's been for a while. Why are they borrowing money to finance a lifestyle that they can't afford? That provokes me because it goes against what I believe in, and I believe in leaving as much as you can for your kids. And I'm doing that, and I'm not going to wait until I die to um, give the inheritance to my kids. I don't need all of that luxury. I don't need a new car. Okay, not saying this because I'm so great or anything, but this is also part of how we have a slave mentality. It's a slave mentality when you think that you need a bigger flat or a bigger house because, oh, you deserve it, and the bank will hand you the money. you know Again, it's a trap. It's the trap that gets you into being a slave and having a slave mentality. um so yeah, not only not only boomers, but everyone, I guess, but especially it's particularly idiotic when you're that age, I would say, to borrow more money. um uh, let's see here. Thank you, Justin. um yeah, okay. I'm not one of those collectivist people, um, by the way, and that's another part of the trap, I guess. Um, you will hear, especially politicians, saying things like, "Oh, we need to do this. We need to work for the common good of our country," or whatever. I think people falling for that are idiots, to be honest with you. The military and conscription, it's a good example of that. Oh, you need to, if you're young, you should serve in the military because you will be protecting your country when the bad Russians come. Come on, how stupid it's so stupid. you know I'll translate that one for you guys. Join the military. That way, we get free labor from you for a year, and we also get to send you to foreign countries to fight bankers' wars. Yeah. That's a translation there into truth language. I'll pay your taxes with a smile and things like that. What the hell, why would I do that with a smile? I only do it because they will put me in jail if I don't. Now, would I want to pay taxes for, you know, free health care? I think that's kind of important. Maintaining roads, schools, yes. Subsidizing fat politicians so that they can get even fatter. and sell Norwegian electric power to the EU? No. As I said yesterday, those people can go and fondle themselves in a dark room. But anyway, Alaska says, greetings from Alaska. Thank you. That's what the Russians called Russian America. By the way, let's see. Yeah, yay, Texas. Gordon is asking, did you see the World Economic Forum? This year, I don't want to. Because I want peace and quiet, and it's disruptive and it's just negative. Yeah. So, no, I've become very cynical about that whole thing. And it's like, I guess I've learned my lesson. I don't think that getting into politics is what I'm going to do in the future on social media, because people are so emotional now. It's worse than ever. And if you try to have a balanced and nuanced view of something, especially something that involves Trump, you're going to get haters from both sides because they don't accept that. They don't accept that. And the people who hate Trump, they will hate you if you say that, well, this thing Trump is doing here is actually sensible. And the people who love Trump will hate you if you say, well, this thing Trump is doing there, it's idiotic. So that's where we are now. People act like they have no manners. Yes, tribal insanity. Let's see. My opinion on robots being used for physical labor jobs. Well, Mike is asking. Well, I guess there are some physical labor that, I mean, does it mean that people will be out of work? Probably. I don't think that this idea that politicians are trying to sell us, that for some strange and magical reason, the jobs that are lost because of AI and robotics, those will be replaced by other new jobs. I don't see that happening. And if you look back in history, you will see that new technology made a lot of people unemployed. It resulted in poverty. Let's see, what's it called? I don't know. Is it was it the yeah, well, the automation of making clothes in the UK, in England, an invention there that made the workers that they didn't need the workers anymore, so they became unemployed. So, was that called? I'm just off the top of my head, a spinning Jenny or something like that, or am I just making something up here? Something that made those people actually made the clothes and made the fabric, made them unnecessary, you know. So, yes, of course, if we have robots doing the manual work around, then um, then people will be out of work. And there is, now I hate to quote, what's it, Jordan Peterson, because I think he's become it was the spinning Jenny, yeah. It's become an idiot, but there's at least this idea that in the future, near future, manual work, we won't need people for manual work, and I think he's being very condescending when he's saying this, but I'll share the idea with you, not saying that I necessarily agree, but the people with an IQ that is not very high will not be needed anywhere in society. There will be no work for those people because those jobs will be replaced by robots. But then again, doesn't seem right, does it? Because what we are seeing now is that AI, which is not physical robots, of course, but AI is replacing authors, illustrators, musicians, like artists. The next is lawyers, and so jobs that takes a lot of intellectual power. Yeah. But anyway, Kat, well, thank you so much for that awesome donation. That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. Let's see. Yeah, Peter says, as manual worker, I don't see any time soon some robot comes to replace me. Yeah, and I don't like this idea that was Jordan Peterson, kind of a link there that, oh, you're stupid if you do manual work. I don't like that idea. I don't think it's true. And it's something you would say if you. No, I think it's a little bit disgusting to say that. And now we are seeing that AI is taking the jobs mostly, first and foremost, from people who are, well, judging from the education they have, they couldn't have gotten through that without a high IQ and so on. So, but yeah, that's what we are seeing now. Well, the idea is not. This is not what I'm thinking. I don't agree with this idea, but the idea is that if you have a higher education, you couldn't have gotten through that without a high IQ. That used to, up until recently, be true. I've been looking at those numbers, and people may not like that because they want to think that people who have a university education are they are fools, but normally they are not. And then also the idea is that if you do manual labor, you're doing manual labor because you're stupid. Which, what if you prefer to do manual labor? Like, I know people who love their job and they're carpenters, and it's like, what? It's it's a little bit laughable. It's very snobbish, you know. So, but anyway, as I said, I don't agree with that idea. Um, when it comes to AI, we see that it's taking the jobs of drivers slowly, but it's moving towards that. Um, so, you know, and there's a lot of people working as drivers. But I think, I don't know, but I might be wrong here, but I think maybe people will not feel safe without a physical driver in the bus, for instance. I would not want to be on a bus without a physical driver. He or she wouldn't have to hold the steering wheel, but there needs to be some person there. And then, if there needs to be a person there, then well, why use AI? Why don't have that person driving the bus? You know. But then again, maybe they will just fire all the drivers to save money, and people who take the bus, they won't have a choice. So, you know. Okay. Yeah, well, IQ, is in most IQ is very interesting. It's an indication of your intelligence, you know, and it will decrease as you get older. After your peak, which is, I think, when you're around 20 years old. So someone 60 years old or 52 like me is most likely have a lower IQ than someone who's 20. Like, no, that I didn't say that right. But if you take the same person as a 20-year-old, that person would be smarter a 20-year-old than 50. You know. Also, we do know that up until recently, people with a university degree have a higher IQ, much higher than the average. I think it's still higher, but not as much as before. But then again, that doesn't mean that everyone who does not have a university degree has a low IQ. So it's important to be able to separate the different things from each other here. And will people say, "Oh, if you don't have a university, people have a university degree doesn't mean that you're smart. You can have a university degree and still be an idiot." That's not really true, because then you wouldn't get the degree. You know. What else is there? Yes. There's an infamous book. It shouldn't be infamous, but The Bell Curve. And he became very unpopular, that guy, because of his research, which said that there are differences between countries and cultures. This being YouTube, that's all I can say about that. And yes, there's a slight difference in IQ between men and women. The average is the same, I believe, but there's a slightly wider span for men. So it means that in a population, there will be more male idiots and geniuses than female idiots and geniuses. So, so that's very slight difference there. And it's amazing when you look back, and I've often thought about this, and also in other cultures, women are not going to schools in some countries, and they're not wanted in higher education. And think of all the talent you're losing. Think of all the inventions and scientific breakthrough we never got, because most of human history, women were not, well, basically not allowed to get a higher education. So there's something there to think about. Luckily, in the Western world now, women have access to higher education, of course. So we should be very happy about that fact. Let's see. I'm going to. It's about 1 hour now. Going to get my breakfast. And I know IQ always makes people very emotional. Let's see here. Yeah, I want to thank you for joining the chat. I'm really enjoying these. And by the way, do check out the video on Bjorn Outdoors. There's a link in the video description to that channel. On my other channels, consider subscribing. That video where I went, that's on Bjorn Outdoors, I went up here and I saw the rubbish, the glass, broken glass, and the destruction at the local campsite. That video has gotten a lot of attention, almost 100,000 views now since Friday. So yeah, you can check that out. It's not a happy video, but you might find it interesting. Okay, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.